What makes Rise a top player in Rocket League is not just his mechanics and game sense, because we could talk about that all day long. I think it's his confidence. You hear him in interviews talking about events coming up or matches coming up, and he just says, oh, we're ready. Oh, we're going to win. Not many players can, especially the ones that are young in the scene, can say that and then back it up. But Rise does that, and I think that unrivaled confidence in his attitude is what separates him from the pack.
For how he impacts the fandom, the following of Rocket League, honestly, he is just incredibly charismatic. I've had the ability to actually talk to this guy a lot in person, and it rubs off on you, not only just in terms of online, but in person. You can tell his determination is absolutely crazy. It's just one of the things where you look at how incredibly charismatic he is on stage, and you talk to him behind the scenes, and it's that same sort of confidence, that same sort of understanding. He knows he's good. He is here for the long haul, and he's going to continue to prosper as he props up a lot of the younger talent coming through as well. Really, I mean, Rise is one of those guys who I don't think is going anywhere for a long time to come.
There are several plays where you could say this is my most memorable or this is the best play from Rise, but I have to talk about one that just left my jaw on the floor that I saw live during last year's Winter Major. It was during the infamous lower bracket run of Moist Esports. I'm a Version 1 fan, so they were going against SSG, a team that took down Version 1, so you know who I was rooting for. I saw them in Game 7. Rise gets demoed on the field and makes the most heroic save on the goal line. With less than a minute left, with them only up by 1 goal, they take the ball away from Arsenal and ensure the win. There's no reason why Rise should have been to that save, but with his quick-witted thinking and with his mechanical ability to get on the goal line quicker than ever, like it was a play that you don't just get excited for, you don't cheer and clap, you just say, what? And the whole stadium was left in awe and shock, and not many plays can do that. So that was one that I truly felt that I feel like has to go in the history books of plays from Rise.
Why Rise was successful at Moist is honestly because of the fact that he was just such a good player, again, for his role abilities. He allowed Joyo and Vatira to be two of the best players on the planet who continually were in conversations for the most mechanical, the most adaptable, the most everything. And yet Rise was never really the person that people focused on outside of individual performances where he would pop off and people would go, wow, what a player. But you need to realize that, like, he was doing that intentionally. Rise was a third man, second man, never that front guy to try and be the catalyst for an offense as much as be the guy to control the flow of the pitch and really prop everybody up. Rise was built different, man. I knew from the very first minute I saw him in RLCS that this guy was going to be a star. He was that player who didn't need the flash, who didn't need the spotlight on him. He needed to be able to give other people the ball and do it in the best way possible to facilitate as much success as the team could possibly withstand.
Rise's story with Moist Esports was legendary. I mean, you have to realize that with Moist Esports, they were just entering in the esports scene, namely Rocket League esports, and you could say they were splashing onto the scene. I mean, it's fair, because that's what Rise, Joyo, and Vatira did under the banner of Team Queso before they got picked up by Moist. They took everyone by storm and surprise. No one could rival them in a way that proved Moist Esports as less dominant. That's just who they were. They went on to win the Spring Major after getting picked up 5th to 8th in the World Championship. Vatira leaves, but Rise still spearheads Moist Esports to a 2nd place in the Fall Major of this RLCS season. So Rise and Moist Esports, they just went hand in hand for a beautiful story as long as it lasted.
I am just as speechless as you are probably right now, because Rise won't join V1. He's gonna join Oxygen, and everything was finalized in the last hours of the trade window. So was everything I said in my last YouTube videos and what Shift and Achilles reported in the last couple of days a lie? No, it wasn't. Rise really wanted to join V1. However, he did not sign that contract, and then Oxygen knocked on the door and said, hey, we might part ways with Oli, how about it? And then Rise said, okay, this is an even even better option for me. I don't have to move to the US for that. And now he's gonna join Oxygen in place of Oli. This now means, guys, because we expected a chain reaction out of Rise joining V1, we would have therefore seen Com leaving V1 and joining Optic. Magic Bear then would be without a team. And now that the first part of Rise joining V1 did not even happen, all the others can't happen as well.
And so I want to know from your perspective, Archie, did you like wake up to a message or like I can I join Oxygen, or like what even happened there?
Okay, so on Sunday, at this point it was me.
Is Sunday the
Yoris
last
and
day?
Oli. Yeah.
Okay.
It was me, Yoris, Oli team. Like we already did like 2 days of scrims. It didn't go very well. Like the environment was still pretty bad. Like it wasn't very fun to play. But we were like guaranteed the team at this point. Like and then I'm at my dad's, watching the Leeds game. Leeds are playing against the Cardiff in the Cup. And I get a message from Rise. He says, "Yo, you on?" So at this point, I'm wondering. I'm like, he's never messaged me anything like this unless it's something like serious, because that's such a weird message to get. Because normally he just says like FM ? For football manager. So,
Naturally.
Yeah. So I was like, so honestly, I just said, did the NA thing, like, did you get votes like by it? And then he asked me if Auction was still interested in him.
When Rise left Moist Esports to go to Auction, I'm not going to lie, it was a little bit of a surprise for me, but it was also one of these things where I think Rise was just kind of, he needed a change. It felt like Moist Esports was never going to be able to live up to their former glory, especially after a lackluster finish at the World Championship. Vatira leaves, citing that he wants to have a more serious team, be able to play with other competitors who also speak the same language as him, as again, Vatira is French, so his natural language is not going to be English rather than French. So it's one of these things where I can understand it. Rise has outgrown that roster. The original trio had broken up, and it was only proper that he could go his separate ways as well. And heck, if you're on a team like Oxygen, given that shot, why would you not leave? Archie and Jorias are two of the best on the planet, and as much as Joyo and Astral were great, it's clear the chemistry just wasn't there. And in my opinion, did Moist Esports make the right move? I don't know if that was the right move for Moist Esports as much as it was the right move for Rise. Moist Esports have continually tried to make change after change after change to kind of rekindle and recapture that energy and that ability that they found at the London Major. But you got to realize, major winners don't really seem to repeat. It's a very new thing, and I don't think we're going to continue to see very many repeat winners. They are lightning in a bottle at best, and unfortunately for Moist Esports, they captured that lightning in London, but never really could do it again. So for Rise, I think it was the right decision. Was it for Moist? Who really knows? My perspective on Rise and Oxygen going into early 2023 is that we don't know what their potential is at this point. They started off the season with a win in, I believe, the very first regional of the year, and that was before Rise was even on it. So he goes to that team with the expectations that, hey, we can win regional events, but can they win a major? I don't know. It comes down to how do Archie and Jorias play, because I think, in my opinion, Rise has proved himself to be one of the most consistent players in RLCS. He never has bad series. He never has series. Well, he has series occasionally where he peaks and people go, wow, this guy's crazy good, but the floor for him is what's most impressive. He is very consistent, does not make a lot of mistakes, and is super clean in the way that he plays, and I think that's a big difference between him and a lot of other players. And the thing is for Jory, as a notorious player for not necessarily putting in the same amount of hours as maybe some of the other pros, he's kind of got to live up to that. He's got to live up to those expectations of consistency, because we've seen very high highs for Jorias and very low lows for Jorias. So at this point, I think Oxygen's in a good place, and I think Rise is going to continue to thrive. The question is just, again, how high can they climb at this point?
Now, when asked about Rise's decision to move from Moist Esports to Oxygen Esports, and if that was the right one, it's a controversial question, but I think you have to say yes. Of course, it comes off of the second place in the fall major of this RLCS season, but it's not first. And guess what? They didn't even get a top 2 finish in any of the 3 regionals of that fall split on the Moist roster. So for Rise, and I talked about his attitude of confidence, of not his belief, but his knowledge that he can be the best and he can get first place in any event that he performs in. If he's not getting that, it's time to leave. It's time to move on and not stick around the Moist Esports that was, because that is far and gone and away, and there's a new legacy for him to write. And now with Jorias and now Archie instead of Oli, I think this is a team that has that potential. I mean, Rise just performed in an event where he had a cast on, and he still decimated opponents. If that doesn't scream the potential of GOAT status, what does? There's nothing that can truly stop Rise. I think he's only there to continue to elevate his potential and make the right moves that are the most meaningful for him. So it's already, to me, a good move to translate his talents to a team that could fulfill his potential. We'll see on the international stage this upcoming winter major if they truly can set the bar that high and defeat their second place finish. It's going to be up to how well Oxygen Esports can perform in winter.